Thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Like I was saying earlier, with WrestleMania a few days away right now.
Absolutely. And are we officially recording now?
We are, yes.
So allow me to officially comment and positively on the fullness of your beard. It is very impressive.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Minus the grays. I'm getting a little gray on the side, but the fullness is good.
But we are
Thank
talking
you.
about sponsorship, so maybe Just for Men is around the corner. I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? If you know people, I know my mom would appreciate that. She's kind of thrown in some subtle hints. So yeah, maybe she'd appreciate that. But yeah, obviously WrestleMania is coming up, in a few short days here, and I'm sure it was so tough for you guys to put on the event last year without fans, live and in person. But they're back this year. So just how excited are you, is the WWE and the WWE Universe to have a bit of a sense of normalcy, knowing that there will be fans live and in person for WrestleMania 37?
Absolutely. We cannot wait. I mean, when you think about WrestleMania, it typically in a non-pandemic world draws people from over 60 different countries, all 50 states, all different socioeconomic backgrounds, political beliefs, etc. It's this giant family reunion. And to have that taken away last year hurt all of us so much. But here we are this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, the 10th and the 11th, and we are bringing our fans back home. We just absolutely can't wait. It does feel like life is going to get back to normal, and hopefully WrestleMania is another step closer.
Of course, of course. Yeah, I had the pleasure of going when you guys were in the tri-state area a couple years ago, and it was my first ever WrestleMania. It was just insane. So I can't imagine what it felt not having the fans there and what it will be like this weekend having them back.
Absolutely. And last year was the first one of my lifetime that I've missed.
So yes. you're itching to get back as well.
I sure am.
I've seen some different numbers thrown around in terms of capacity and how many fans are expected like that. I know, Raymond James Stadium hosted the Super Bowl. They had about 25,000. Bucks games were about 25% capacity. So about how many fans are you guys expected, both on Saturday and Sunday evening?
So it's roughly the same as the Super Bowl, about 25,000. Of course, our configuration is slightly different because we're able to use the floor, unlike the NFL where that is the field. So we have the benefit of following the Super Bowl at Raymond James Stadium and the path that they led for us, quite frankly, and working with all of the local organizations, the health organizations, the local organizing committee, really to ensure the health and safety of everyone, our superstars, our fans, the people working the venue, etc. So very grateful to the NFL for that.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I'm sure it helps you guys that the Bucks did have fans there in some capacity, and they had the big event that you're like, okay, we can kind of take some tips and, protocols and everything from those guys, like you just said.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And talking a bit more on the partners, sponsors, branding kind of side, Snickers is the presenting sponsor for WrestleMania for the 6th consecutive year. And there's a little extra wrinkle this year with those guys that they're presenting partner of the main event, which is kind of cool. So just talk about the relationship with Snickers and how it's evolved. And like I said, that they, this is the first time in WWE history, if I'm not mistaken, that they are, the presenting partner of the main event here at WrestleMania.
Absolutely. So that is a key piece to the growth of our partnership. We're so grateful to have them back. You're going to see some new elements around that. I can't quite give it away too much because, quite frankly, part of it's experimental too, in terms of how we utilize technology to help support Snickers. But we've worked with Snickers for so many years that we really have this great cadence and partnership, and we've created 3 different spots. And it's really, it depends on the partner. Sometimes partners prefer to use their agencies. Sometimes partners prefer to use just strictly WWE, and we're amenable to all of it. But in this particular case, our television production team produced these custom spots. 2 of them have been airing. 1 will debut in WrestleMania, and it's really fun.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. And again, just adding the extra wrinkle of them as the presenting partner of the main event, just how important is that and in terms of the growth of the relationship with them?
No, it is. And I think growth is a key indicator of the health of any partnership. And the more we do, the more we want to do together. So that's very exciting for WWE for sure. And, we never have had a sponsor of the main event, and they will be sponsoring both the main event on Saturday night and then again on Sunday night. So it's a lot of additional value, I think, for both Snickers and WWE. And it's gonna look a little bit different. Again, it allows us a little leeway, a little wiggle room to experiment, to really over deliver on their expectations.
Now, is that something that you guys might look into? Maybe not necessarily with Snickers. I know they're, like I said, the main presenting sponsor of WrestleMania, but other marquee pay-per-view events, maybe like SummerSlam, for example. Is that something you guys might look to down the line, having a presenting, partner for the main event?
Absolutely. I think there's a big opportunity for WWE that's really more akin to how the sports leagues present sponsorship and partnership. Especially when you think about today's environment, and what we all went through during the pandemic. I think it caused all of us to relook at our budgets and how we spend our money and how we allocate our time. And what WWE has the unique opportunity to offer really is not only our talent, which is WWE's intellectual property, but it's also the creative integration, the customized type content that we can create. Old Spice is one of our partners as well. And we have actually, working with Wyden and Kennedy, this time working with an agency, created a character called the Night Panther. And there's this whole backstory behind the lore of the Night Panther, which is one of their scents. And it's really fun and irreverent, which is right in line with their sense of humor. But that's what partnering with WWE can do. We're actually creating 6 different pieces of customized content for Old Spice, for P&G. And what other brand can create a talent, a character that comes to life, than WWE? So there's just so many ways to integrate and work with us, I think, in a way that brands are really looking for now, in a true partnership fashion, not just slapping logos. This is about integration. This is about engaging the audience and the brand. Just one example in the past that we have done with KFC, we created, their goal at the time was to put the Colonel in unexpected places. And we had Dolph Ziggler as the Colonel against a fictional chicken mascot, Mr. Plucker's Chicken. And they wound up actually competing in the ring. And our fans were so appreciative of that extra mile that they actually started to chant Colonel Sanders. We can't guarantee that, but the audience is savvy. They know when they're being marketed to. So when you can do it in a clever way that reaches them in a way that they understand and that they love, it gives them that respect for the brand.
Mm-hmm, of course, yeah. And I was gonna bring that up myself. And obviously Rey Mysterio with the Victoria Beer mask, and the New Day, they had was it the Gears? They came out with that. So yeah, definitely some interesting integrations like you mentioned before. So that's pretty exciting. You touched on some of the other partners and sponsors for this year. P&G, there's Papa John's, DraftKings is a new one for you guys, Cricket Wireless, Hulu, Mattel, Credit One Bank. Did I miss anybody? Like, I feel the list just it keeps going down. Just
yes, Nestle Waters is actually activating with us on one of our community events. So it is. Yeah, it does. It all builds.
Yeah, just how are these partners working with WWE this year? And we talked about last year how there were no fans, and now that they're going to be able to actually have activations, boots on the ground with fans at WrestleMania. So just how important is that, knowing that there was kind of an opportunity lost, unfortunately, last year because of the pandemic?
Sure. And I would say most of it because it's not like we are up and running with full activations across WWE. WrestleMania week itself is very small when you consider the events and the downsizing. We're not having our fan access event. We're not having a number of different in-person activations because of the pandemic, and just really to ensure everyone's health and safety. So a lot of the integrations really are through this customized content creation. For DraftKings, they're going to have betting pools around some of the matches in WrestleMania itself, and they're free to play. But it's really fun, if you can guess the length of a match, or who's coming out first, or what kind of stipulation. It's engaging. It's through digital formats, so it's a little bit different than an in-person activation, but that's just one of the ways. And again, I mentioned Nestle Waters. That is an in-person activation for one of our community events. We're partnering with Feeding Tampa Bay, and of course the local organizing committee again, and the Bullard Family Foundation, Titus O'Neill, who is a Warrior Award winner from 2020, and just a Tampa Bay native and WWE's global ambassador. He does so much incredible work. And at one of the schools that he sponsors, Sly Middle School, we're actually creating a community garden. And we're going to be creating 10 community gardens in the area to really address food insecurity. And Nestle Waters is partnering with us in that activation. So, it depends on the partner, but there's so many different ways to activate with WWE, whether it is the live event, the custom content creation, our superstars, or through the community.
Of course. And I was going to say, how are you guys using this, knowing it is the first event with fans live and in person in over a year? How are you going to use this as kind of a measuring stick moving forward now, in terms of hopefully having more fans at events and kind of getting, like I said, that sense of normalcy, as we slowly crawl out of this pandemic?
Well, I think first and foremost, we're just going to really enjoy what it feels like. And if you can imagine being a superstar who, when you're a live event entertainer, regardless of whether you are an athlete competing in a sports league, whether you are a rock star, whether you're a comedian, no matter what it is, and especially if you're a WWE superstar, our fans are our secret sauce. They are a part of our show. They impact actually what happens in the ring and the stories that we're telling. So I think we're just going to really enjoy having them back and performing for them live in person. It makes such a difference. And we're so grateful to our virtual fans who have been joining us ever since we launched the Thunderdome last August. And that's been, tremendous for WWE and a huge learning opportunity as well, especially from a technology standpoint. But having our fans back in person, that's just going to be something we enjoy. And then in terms of the measuring stick, as we move forward, we're looking towards having regular live events in the second half of the year. We're certainly planning in that direction. And again, I think we're always learning. In terms of our partners, we're going to be making sure we're hitting all of our KPIs and hopefully over delivering on their goals. So again, the measuring stick depends on what you're measuring, right? But we're always tracking and measuring, and the goal is always to outperform and outdo. Even with WrestleMania, we always want to be better than the year before.
Of course. Well, I think just having fans live and in person this year already makes last year better than before. So
agreed.
I'm sure it's going to be great. Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's all I had in terms of questions. Like I said, I'm sure you have 10,000 other things to do. So thank you again for taking the time. And with the risk of sounding a slightly unprofessional, I'm an Attitude Era kid. I grew up on it. And if you would have told me 20 years ago I'd had the chance to talk to you, let alone interview you, I'd say you're crazy. So thank you again so much for taking the time. It means more to me than so thank you.
No, thank you, Michael. And little did you know I'd be complimenting you on your facial hair.
Right? There you go. It's a dream come true. I didn't even think I would have a beard like this, when I was a teenager. Thank you. So well, I appreciate the compliments. I appreciate the insight on everything, WrestleMania and WWE. So and enjoy everything this weekend.